he owes, and I'm going to say it in a short way, at least $80,000, if not $180,000.
Acceptable for someone to create a documentary about you without your approval. How would you feel if it happened to you?
Welcome back to BuzzBuster. I'm glad you're here. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss daily videos. Jim Jones and his podcast crew crossed the line when they started clowning 50 Cent's documentary work live on air, and that move backfired fast. Instead of dropping a diss track or firing shots online, 50 Circle decided to play it smart and cold. They didn't just hit back, they hit Jim where it really hurt. What went down next was pure chaos. A leaked partnership video exposed eviction clips that ended with Jim Jones literally locked out of his own studio. The drama went from rap beef to a full-blown power play straight out of a corporate playbook. This is how 50 Cent's crew clapped back when Jim tried to test G-Unit. Part 1.
It's like
Definitely not acceptable. It's facetious and petty.
right. It's like somebody putting out just
The podcast that sparked it all. On February 19, 2026, security footage flooded the internet showing Jim Jones kicking through a locked door at his podcast studio after the lights were cut and the locks were switched. But here's the wild part. That clip wasn't leaked by a random fan. It came straight from 50 Cent himself, who teamed up with the landlord and claimed rights to the property. After that, things spiraled out of control. 50's business connect, the landlord, and even Cameron, Jim's old Dipset partner, jumped in on the action. They dropped eviction papers, leaked recorded phone calls, and turned the whole thing into a public circus. They mocked Jim for not even keeping the lights on, and the internet went crazy. This wasn't about fists or rap bars anymore. It was about power and control. The hit landed right in public view, and it stung bad because it was cold, calculated payback. All of it traced back to one podcast episode dropped just 2 months earlier, one simple convo that lit the fuse 50 Cent refused to ignore. Back in December 2025, Jim Jones sat down with Mino Faye and Dave East for an episode of Let's Rap About It, and that chat kicked off a storm nobody saw coming. At first, things stayed cool on the Let's Rap About It set, until the convo switched to documentaries. That's when the vibe shifted fast. Dave East tossed out one heavy question. Is it cool to make a documentary about somebody without their approval? And boom, the whole room lit up. Jim Jones didn't hold back. He called that kind of move facetious and petty. Mino compared it to dropping someone's private footage without consent, and everyone jumped in, saying how messed up it was to release clips just to make someone look bad. The tension was rising by the second.
Permission, and you're not an actual star. And they doing
the lighting wasn't good enough.
But anyone listening could tell they weren't just talking about some random filmmaker. The timing gave it away. It was obvious who they were aiming at. 50 Cent had just dropped Sean Combs' The Reckoning, a Netflix docuseries digging into serious allegations against Diddy, and the Let's Rap About It crew clearly thought he went too far. They called the whole project exploitative, questioning 50's motives and saying the series felt more like humiliation than truth. Their tone got sharper with every word, turning that casual talk into a full-on debate about respect, loyalty, and crossing the line. Jim and the crew said it straight. 50 wasn't documenting, he was detonating. They believed he used the camera like a weapon, turning storytelling into a public takedown. You could feel the tension buzzing through that studio, voices raised, looks exchanged, everyone agreeing that kind of exposure wasn't just messy, it was meant to destroy a man's image for good. Then Jim Jones dropped a line that changed everything. He said, a documentary should honor you, not tear you down, and he meant it with his whole chest. Whether he was talking in general or subtly firing shots at 50, that part's still up for debate. Faye jumped in too, pressing deeper, questioning if shows like that were even legal, hinting at issues like defamation and using someone's likeness without permission. That moment set the stage for a storm that was only getting started. Mino later tried to clean things up on Instagram.
Make you just look bad. Oh, they caught me on a bad day? I wasn't even on my... This they caught a weak one.
Saying his words were just part of a general convo about documentaries, not a personal jab at 50. But by then, the damage was already locked in. Because because 50 didn't see it as a random discussion. He took it personal. And when 50 Cent takes something personal, it never ends with words. He flipped the whole situation into a full-on takedown. Next thing you know, 50 was online dragging the entire Let's Rap About It crew, calling them squatters and bums, and claiming they owed a wild $250,000 in back rent for their podcast studio. Then, just to twist the knife even deeper, 50 reposted their own podcast clips with brutal captions and straight-up taunts. He even joked about buying the whole building right out under him. That's cold. From there, 50 went into full demolition mode, tearing into their reputations one by one like it was business. But Mino wasn't about to stay silent.
He clapped back on Instagram with his own heat, firing personal shots at 50 and warning him not to test the smoke. Then, on Christmas Day 2025, Mino dropped a squatters' rights freestyle, spitting bars over 50's own beats and tossing shade right back. It was bold, no question, but it blew up in his face. Instead of slowing 50 down, he gave him more ammo to roast the whole crew publicly. Everyone watching could tell this wasn't just a back and forth anymore. 50 was on a mission. Jim Jones and his co-hosts had no idea that by calling out 50's documentary, they had opened a dangerous door, and 50 walked right through it, lease papers in hand. The podcast debate was one thing, but what 50 did next? That was a whole different level of revenge. Instead of jumping into a diss track war or firing shots on Instagram, 50 Cent went for something way colder. He went straight for the heart of Jim Jones' whole setup.
The lighting is dark.
Damn.
You see that the lighting is dark?
He looking small
Still
out
put
here.
this on the internet?
Word up.
The landlord of his studio. Fans later called the move downright diabolical, and honestly, they weren't wrong. 50 got on the phone with the building's owner, a man named Sam, and not only recorded the call, but shared the audio with the world. In that clip, Sam laid it all out. He talked about how things with Jim Jones and the Let's Rap About It crew had gone from promising to flat-out toxic. According to Sam, Jim had been using the studio under some sketchy lease terms, demanding big renovation perks, asking for special treatment, and stalling on signing the final paperwork that would have made their deal official. Sam made it sound like Jim wanted all the perks of being a boss without actually paying the price that comes with it. But it turns out the money mess went way deeper than anyone expected. Sam wasn't just a landlord collecting rent. He claimed he actually held a contractual stake in the podcast's content. Yeah, you heard that right. Half of what Jim and his crew recorded supposedly belonged to the building's owner under their original deal. And according to Sam, Jim wasn't being upfront about the show's earnings or what money was coming in from the podcast. That silence shattered the last bit of trust between them. The tension got so bad that Sam decided he was done. He wanted out of the partnership completely. And guess who he offered to sell his share to? None other than 50 Cent himself. That move right there showed how cold-blooded and business-minded this whole feud had become. Sam had lost faith in Jim's camp and was ready to cash out, handing his stake over to the same man feuding with his tenant. It wasn't just industry drama anymore. This had turned into business warfare. 50 Cent had officially bought himself a front-row seat to Jim Jones's downfall. Then came the number, the one that blew up headlines for an entire week and flipped the whole narrative around the Let's Rap About It crew. Sam dropped a bomb that shook the internet. He claimed the unpaid balance for the podcast studio was huge. Reports said anywhere from $80,000 to $180,000, and some outlets pushed it all the way up to $250,000. No matter which number people believed, the message was crystal clear. Jim Jones's entire podcast operation was drowning in debt. The irony hit hard.
I ain't gonna front. I think, if they saluting you,
First of all, they want somebody doing a documentary.
The same crew that sat in that very studio questioning 50's ethics supposedly couldn't even afford to keep their own lights on while doing it, and 50 made sure everybody saw it. He didn't just listen to that landlord call behind closed doors. He posted it publicly for millions to hear. It wasn't just petty revenge anymore. It was a calculated, business-level takedown, and 50 played it like a pro. 50 didn't just post that landlord call and move on. He tagged everyone. His captions were loaded with mockery, making it clear this wasn't gossip or random trolling. It was a power flex. He wanted the world to see who really ran the block now. The message hit like a punch. While Jim Jones and his crew sat around debating whether 50's documentaries were exploitative, they apparently couldn't even afford the seats they were sitting on. But for 50 Cent, this wasn't the finale. It was just part one of a bigger play. Soon, whispers started flying online that 50 hadn't just exposed the situation. He'd actually partnered with or straight up bought the building from Sam, the landlord himself. Overnight, the man went from online troll to actual property owner. And then came the post that froze everyone's timeline. 50 hit Instagram with a caption that had fans losing it. "Sam is my partner. I own the joint. Now you gonna fix every door you kick, or I'm gonna kick you, Jimmy." Whether that statement was completely true or just another one of 50's trademark power moves didn't even matter, because the perception had already taken over. To the public, 50 Cent wasn't just clowning Jim Jones anymore. He was his landlord. And what came next locked that image in for good.
On February 19th, 2026, 50 dropped something no one saw coming. No diss track, no meme, no slick caption, just cold, hard security footage. The video was time-stamped, crystal clear, and brutally embarrassing. It showed Jim Jones and a few people from his crew standing in the hallway of the IFC film studios, trying to get into their locked podcast room, the same space that now symbolized 50 Cent's latest victory. The doors were sealed, the power was cut, and the whole scene played out like a movie you couldn't look away from. The clip showed Jim struggling with the door, muttering about the lights being out, and when it wouldn't budge, he straight up kicked another one in. The moment was raw, unfiltered, and humiliating to watch. That video wasn't just an eviction notice, it was a statement. A move so strategic, it turned what started as petty back and forth into a full-blown moment in hip-hop history.
Documentary,
gotta be dope.
showing who you are, what you've done,
Bullshit
everything you've
on.
accomplished. Like, yeah, documentary is a big thing. Like, you don't want nobody doing a documentary about like trying to just make your whole character look weak. Like, that's petty.
50 had taken the concept of checkmate to a new level, locking out his rivals while letting the cameras roll. Every second of that scene was caught in crystal clear HD by the building's own security cameras. Cameras that 50 Cent somehow had full access to. And you already know, 50 wasn't about to let a moment like that slide. He posted the footage online with a cold, mocking caption that hit straight to the ego. "Damn, bro, this wouldn't happen if we was friends. Wanna be friends? I don't know. Let's rap about it. LOL. That "let's rap about it" callback wasn't just a joke, it was a surgical strike. A calculated troll designed to sting deep and remind everyone who was really in control. But 50 didn't stop with the video, he went even further. He uploaded an actual eviction notice addressed to Joseph Jones and IFC Management LLC, turning receipts into ammunition. The paperwork spelled everything out in brutal detail. A 15-day default notice that had already expired on January 22, 2026, followed by a 5-day termination notice that ended on February 17th. So when Jim Jones kicked that door down on February 19th, his lease had already been dead for 2 whole days. The document even made it clear that Jones could only step back inside to collect his personal belongings, nothing else. That meant his studio, his equipment, his whole podcast home base was officially gone. When that footage hit social media, the explosion was instant. Fans couldn't believe what they were watching. Complex called it next level, while others labeled it peak petty and pure genius. But the real shocker wasn't the eviction, it was how 50 flipped the entire feud upside down. No shouting, no threats, no swinging fists, no diss tracks, just pure strategy. He handled it with paperwork, partnerships, and surveillance footage, proving that power moves hit harder than any lyric ever could. One user on X summed it up perfectly. "This feud gonna last a lifetime." Another posted, "This is Big Brother energy for real." Fans couldn't stop speculating about how 50 even got access to those cameras.
A partnership agreement where half of what he's building now, his media, belongs to us. But he won't tell us how much he's making and doing all these things. So half of the content he's creating, if you want to buy that too, I'll sell you half.
Was it part of his deal with the landlord, or had he gone deeper behind the scenes? Whatever the truth was, one thing was crystal clear. 50 Cent had just redefined what a hip-hop feud could look like. No need for diss records or street drama when you can use business leverage and receipts to end the game entirely. His partnership with the landlord didn't just give him influence, it handed him complete control over the entire building's surveillance system. Every camera, every angle, every second of footage was now his to view and to post. The YouTube channel All Urban Central broke the whole saga down piece by piece, calling it the perfect storm of old beef, business drama, and social media theater. It was chaos, yes, but the kind of chaos only 50 Cent could pull off with a grin and a contract. The hosts at All Urban Central broke it down perfectly, describing how the whole world was watching two worlds collide in real time. A real-life eviction mixed with the wild absurdity of viral entertainment. It was tragic and hilarious all at once, the kind of over-the-top spectacle that only hip-hop could deliver. But they didn't dodge the biggest question floating around. How did 50 even get access to that security footage in the first place? Fans everywhere were asking it, but no one had a straight answer. The fact that 50 Cent might have legally or strategically gotten into a whole surveillance system had people both stunned and impressed. That was the real power of the moment, the insane contrast. This wasn't a skit or a parody. It was a real eviction, an actual legal situation, yet it had morphed into must-see viral content. 50 had pulled off something wild, turning a landlord-tenant dispute into straight-up entertainment gold. And he wasn't just trending, he was owning the narrative. Then, just when everyone thought it couldn't get any crazier, 50 turned the heat up. He gave Jim Jones a blunt ultimatum: pay up by Monday or it gets worse. That one line kept the drama alive and the internet hooked. From there, 50 kept feeding the flames, posting new clips, tagging people, dropping little jabs day after day. Because for 50, humiliation isn't a quick stunt, it's a strategy, a long game built to wear his rivals down until they either go quiet or tap out completely. Meanwhile, the internet was devouring every second. Comment sections became full-blown investigation zones. People were analyzing frames like detectives. Some fans were laughing, others were roasting, and a few just stared in disbelief. One user cracked, "From Dipset to Set Out." Another joked, "The lobby boy really in the lobby." And then came the ruthless ones. "Super Thug can't even kick a door right," and "Grandpa Jones needs a locksmith." But the sharper takes cut deeper. Fans started connecting the dots, saying this clip wasn't just funny, it was exposing something bigger. That maybe, just maybe, a lot of these rappers don't actually have the kind of money or power they claim to have. The fallout went way beyond online embarrassment. That footage didn't just humiliate Jim Jones, it cracked the image he'd spent decades building. His credibility, his wealth, his swagger, all of it suddenly looked shaky under the internet's microscope. And when it came time to clap back, Jim didn't drop a diss track or hold a press conference. He went in a completely different direction. He posted an Instagram story of himself doing martial arts drills, chopping wood in front of a massive Bruce Lee poster. It was part message, part metaphor, like he was saying, "I'm not done yet." Maybe it was his way of reminding everyone he still had fight left in him, that even after all the jokes, leaks, and lost doors, Jim Jones wasn't ready to bow out just yet. In the background of Jim Jones's new clip, the caption read, "Kung Fu Jim, no locked doors at all." It was smooth, a slick little jab, subtle but clear. The message? He wasn't trapped, he wasn't stressed, and he definitely wasn't out of moves. It was the kind of quiet response that hits harder than a rant, and commentary channels caught it instantly. All Urban Central jumped on the video fast, pointing out how Jim wasn't taking 50 Cent's bait this time. Instead of firing back with anger or feeding the chaos, he flipped the energy completely. The host nailed it, saying, "It's almost like he's saying, y'all got jokes, but I'm outside and I'm good." That one line summed everything up. Jim wasn't begging for sympathy or trying to throw insults back. He was simply standing tall, showing that he could take a hit and keep it moving. The hosts broke it down further, explaining why this move actually mattered. Because when it comes to 50 Cent, the one thing you don't want to do is show him that his trolling works. Once you react, you hand him the win. By staying calm and turning the moment into content, Jim Jones might have just pulled off the smartest countermove possible under the circumstances. But the analysis didn't stop there. The show went deeper. This wasn't just about a viral eviction clip or another social media feud. It was history catching up, years of tension, pride, and ego finally colliding in public view. See, the feud between 50 Cent and Jim Jones runs deep, like New York rap history deep. It stretches all the way back to the mid-2000s, when the G-Unit and Dipset movements ruled the streets. These two crews were giants, but they never fully aligned. The tension was always there, quietly simmering beneath the surface, fed by rivalries, label politics, and loyalty lines that never quite matched up. Then came 2007, the year it all exploded. That's when 50 Cent took a public shot at Cock Records, the label Jim Jones was signed to at the time, calling it a graveyard live on Hot 97. That diss didn't just land, it detonated. Cameron called in mid-show to defend his label, and suddenly, the airwaves turned into a live New York rap battle zone. From that moment, it was war. Words flying, crews divided, and the city watching. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, Dipset was already cracking under pressure. Jim Jones and Cameron weren't even speaking. The team was splintering, and 50, being the strategist he is, saw a chance and made his move. That fall, he pulled off something no one saw coming. In September 2007, 50 Cent invited Jim Jones and Jules Santana to perform at a G-Unit concert, and unbelievably, they showed up. The crowd went wild when they hit the stage performing We Fly High, Dipset's own anthem, right there on 50 Cent's turf. For Cameron, that felt like straight betrayal, but for 50 Cent, it was pure chess, a cold, calculated play. He wasn't just throwing a concert, he was sending a message. 50 wanted to prove that he could turn rivals into allies, even for just one night, and that night, he pulled it off in front of the entire city. It wasn't more than a performance, it was a statement of dominance, showing once again that in 50's world, even enemies could end up on his stage when he called the shots. Years later, 50 Cent broke it all down himself, revealing that the 2007 move with Jim Jones wasn't some spur-of-the-moment stunt at all. It was calculated from day one. He knew exactly what he was doing, reading the game like a strategist while everyone else was just reacting. 50 saw that Jim was finally tasting his first major solo success with that anthem had the streets going crazy. And 50 instantly understood what that meant. Here was a man who'd spent years in the shadows, watching others in his own crew blow up first. That kind of hunger, 50 recognized it immediately because he'd seen it before. That's what makes 50's genius different. His ability to read people, spot their ambition, sense their frustrations, and use all of it like pieces on a chessboard while everyone else is still playing checkers. And that one power play back in 2007 didn't just shift alliances, it rewrote the game. It planted the seed for a rivalry that still refuses to die almost 2 decades later. 50 once compared Jim Jones's position back then to what Lloyd Banks must have felt inside G-Unit, watching other members take off first while waiting for his own spotlight. That quiet frustration, that hunger to finally get the shine, 50 saw that same look in Jim's eyes. Jim wanted his solo moment bad, and 50 knew exactly how to use that. So he dangled the bait, and Jim bit. That infamous line, "We like Jimmy better than you anyway, Cam," wasn't just a compliment, it was a weapon, a psychological jab aimed straight at Dip's foundation. It gave Jim the validation he'd been craving while disrespecting Cameron in front of the whole world. It was a classic 50 Cent setup, mixing manipulation with charm, blending flattery and insult until the lines blurred. He played both sides with a grin, turning friendly talk into psychological warfare. Jim took in that praise, and that's when 50 knew his plan had landed perfectly. He saw it in Jim's eyes, that mix of pride, hunger, and maybe even a bit of rivalry, and 50 used it. That one night in 2007 became the spark for an endless loop of tension, a cycle of provocation, manipulation, and retaliation that would keep their story alive for decades. Fast forward nearly 20 years, and that same energy is still pulsing through their feud. The eviction drama of 2026? It wasn't random, it was the latest chapter in the same long game. What looked like a petty online moment was really another 50 Cent masterclass, a lesson in how to turn every feud into fuel, because when it comes to 50, nothing happens by accident. The studio lockout wasn't just about unpaid rent, it was about power, image, and control. It was proof that 50's strategy from the early 2000s still works flawlessly today. He's built a system, a beef machine that takes every enemy and turns them into content, every controversy into clicks, and every L someone else takes into a big W for his brand. That's the real play. 50 doesn't just win arguments, he monetizes them. There's always opportunity in the chaos, and he's been cashing in on it for 2 decades straight. The blueprint behind 50's latest play goes way back, all the way to his legendary war with Ja Rule and Murder Inc. After surviving a shooting in 2000, allegedly connected to that camp, 50 came back harder than ever. He dropped Wankster, built G-Unit from the ground up, and launched a mixtape takeover that reshaped hip-hop forever. But it wasn't just music, it was psychological warfare. He tore down Ja's empire piece by piece with interviews, freestyles, and a ruthless strategy that blurred the line between beef and business. It was street politics turned into marketing genius. There were fights, blacklists, smear campaigns, pure chaos that 50 flipped into triumph. His non-stop mixtape grind caught the attention of Eminem and Dr. Dre, who saw the brilliance behind the madness and signed him. That's how a street rivalry turned into superstardom, how one of the rawest beefs in rap history turned 50 from an underdog into an icon. And out of all that drama, 50 learned one lesson that would shape his entire career. Conflict is marketing. When you control the story, you control the spotlight. Most artists figure that out once and move on, but 50, he never let it go. He turned it into a system, a playbook, and built an entire empire around it. From Rick Ross to Floyd Mayweather to Tierra Mari, every feud followed the same cold formula: provoke, escalate, document, post, then sit back while the internet does the rest. He doesn't just start beefs, he engineers them. Fans on X even crowned him the roast god and the best troll in the game, and honestly, they're not wrong. Even Billboard has credited him as hip-hop's ultimate narrator, the man who stirs chaos but somehow stays spotless while everyone else scrambles to respond.
And now, the Jim Jones saga might be 50's most calculated move yet. No diss tracks, no fights, no wild back and forth. Instead of weapons or words, he used contracts, property deals, and paperwork. He didn't drop a song, he dropped receipts. He swapped fists for filings, trading rap battles for real estate, turning eviction notices and security footage into the new form of hip-hop storytelling. It was colder, cleaner, and more effective than any verse could ever be. The kind of modern warfare only 50 Cent could pull off with a smirk in the post. 50 Cent literally turned paperwork into performance art. He wasn't just posting memes, he was dropping lease terminations, time-stamped footage, and eviction details so precise there was no room for confusion. Every post was a power move, a mix of business precision and pure humiliation, all rolled into one. And when you zoom out and look at the numbers, the whole picture clicks instantly, because this was never a fair fight to begin with. 50 Cent isn't just a rapper, he's a full-blown business empire in motion. He sold over 30 million albums worldwide, scored 3 #1 singles on the Billboard Hot 100, and built an entire media powerhouse with G-Unit films and television.
Add in his unstoppable Power TV franchise and that legendary vitamin water deal that reportedly earned him around $100 million, and it's no mystery why 50 moves like a mogul who can't be touched. By 2026, reports had his net worth somewhere between $40 million and $100 million, depending on who you ask. That's not just wealth, that's influence. Meanwhile, Jim Jones, though still respected in hip-hop circles, hit his commercial peak way back in the mid-2000s with We Fly High. Since then, he's dropped 7 solo albums, but none of them have broken past 21,000 first-week sales since 2005. His estimated net worth today? Somewhere between $400,000 and $600,000. And that gap, that massive financial divide, isn't just a number on paper, it's the battlefield. So when 50 Cent offers to buy the very studio Jim Jones can't afford to keep, it's not just business, it's dominance in action. The power imbalance doesn't need to be explained, it screams all on its own. Still, to his credit, Jim Jones didn't fold. He didn't go online crying, ranting, or denying anything. Instead, he flipped the moment, turning it into content. That Kung Fu Gym video wasn't just a joke, it was a subtle clapback, a slick way to reframe the whole eviction fiasco as free promo. The message was clear. Go ahead and talk, I'm still trending. Because even though 50's empire runs laps around him financially, Jim Jones understands one key rule of survival in hip-hop. As long as people are still talking, the story isn't over. And just when the internet thought he'd gone quiet, Jim flipped the script again. Not long after the storm of humiliation, he dropped a new video, a full walkthrough of his studio space, showing active construction, renovations, and new projects underway. It was his way of saying, you can lock one door, but I'll build another. The move showed resilience, a reminder that while 50 might win the money game, Jim wasn't ready to disappear. He turned the L into a marketing moment, proof that in hip-hop, the smartest comeback isn't always a diss track. Sometimes it's a silent rebuild done on camera for the whole world to see. Instead of playing the part of a man publicly clowned by 50 Cent, Jim Jones flipped the script with finesse. He reintroduced himself, not as the guy who got evicted, but as an investor, a builder, and a visionary crafting something new from the ground up. He wasn't licking wounds, he was laying foundations. His opening line in the new clip set the tone perfectly. He didn't dodge the attention or shy away from the spotlight, he owned it. What started as public embarrassment became a moment of showmanship. Jim shifted the focus from the man who got locked out to the man still expanding. As the camera followed him through the raw, half-finished rooms, he showed off what was coming next: boutiques, barbershops, and brand new studios still under construction. He pointed to the tools, the dust, the wires, not as signs of failure, but as proof of progress. He wasn't standing in ruins, he was standing in a rebuild. Every corner told a story. And as he walked through, he highlighted the people grinding beside him. Young editors, stylists, videographers, and artists putting in work in those same cold, unpolished rooms. Despite the lack of polish, the message rang loud. Opportunity matters more than comfort. This wasn't about luxury, it was about vision. No landlord drama or rap beef was gonna derail that.
Jim even leaned into the code, literally. The low temperatures in the studio had become a running joke online after 50 Cent clowned him, adding wind sound effects and captions showing the crew bundled up like they were filming a survival show. But instead of ignoring it, Jim laughed it off. He embraced the grind, joked about the chill, and flipped the whole tone from humiliation to hustle. That move said everything about his mindset. Own the mess, control the story, and keep building. By the time the walkthrough ended, Jim had completely reframed the narrative. The studio wasn't just a podcast spot anymore, it was a community project, a creative hub where new talent could grow from the ground up. He presented it like an incubator, a space for up-and-coming creators who didn't have big budgets but had big dreams. It was about giving people a start, about turning chaos into creation. He might have lost a lease, but in that moment, he showed he hadn't lost his momentum. Jim made it clear he wasn't backing down, he was reinvesting, turning what looked like defeat into evolution.
But just as Jim began to reshape his image and reclaim control, 50 Cent wasn't about to let the story cool off, not even for a second. The man thrives on momentum, and when the internet starts talking, 50 knows exactly how to keep the noise alive until everyone's picked a side and the conversation belongs entirely to him. Within just a few days, 50 Cent came swinging again, dropping a fresh wave of posts that mixed humor with humiliation, perfectly blended to keep the internet buzzing. He reshared clips from Jim Jones's walkthrough, adding slick, sarcastic captions like "Investor Energy," "Eviction Tour," and "My tenant's still grinding. I respect it." He knew exactly what he was doing, keeping the algorithm spinning and the audience locked in. And as always, the world reacted instantly. Blogs broke down every angle. Reaction videos flooded YouTube, comment sections turned into all-out war zones, G-Unit loyalists versus Dipset defenders, each side going at it like digital soldiers. But behind the chaos, there was something deeper, a clash between two generations of hustle. 50 Cent represented the corporate conqueror, the mogul who turned street survival into billion-dollar business moves, the man who weaponized beef and turned controversy into brand currency. Jim Jones, on the other hand, symbolized the grind from the ground-up era, the street artist turned neighborhood entrepreneur who still believed in building physical spaces, face-to-face connection, and ownership that started in the block, not the boardroom. Their rivalry wasn't just personal anymore, it had become philosophical. And that was the beauty of it. Both men appreciated the attention. Jim even posted a caption that read, "Appreciate the promo, I love it." By early March 2026, Jones was doubling down on real progress. He hit Instagram again, showing off new renovations, fresh lighting, new paint, and even a crowd of creators back filming in the reopened space. His caption said it all: "We still working. You can't evict the vision." That one line hit the culture hard. Suddenly, people weren't just laughing anymore. They were rooting for him. The story shifted from humiliation to resilience. But of course, 50 couldn't resist firing one more playful jab. He reposted Jones's clip with that signature smirk, captioning it, "Now that's the spirit, Jimmy. Just make sure rent's on autopay." Classic 50. Part comedy, part cruelty, all entertainment. The truth? Both men were winning in their own ways. 50 Cent had once again proven that he could dominate headlines without dropping a single verse, turning drama into digital gold. Meanwhile, Jim Jones had flipped what looked like an L into an underdog comeback that fans couldn't help but root for. Industry insiders started calling their tension the perfect storm. 50 Cent, the billionaire troll who feeds on chaos, versus Jim Jones, the scrappy survivor who refuses to go silent. At that point, it wasn't just beef, it had evolved into a new kind of hip-hop storytelling. Every post, every video, every clapback became another chapter in a digital saga. And as 2026 rolled on, whispers started surfacing that 50 Cent's production company was developing a docuseries about hip-hop feuds and business wars. Fans immediately began asking, would the Jim Jones saga be the season premiere? Because if history's taught us anything, when 50 Cent gets the last laugh, it usually comes with a camera rolling. Then came Jim's final word, a closing statement that summed up everything. He didn't deny the drama or act like he wasn't hit, but he didn't admit defeat either. He made one thing clear: the attention itself was the trophy. To Jim, the conversation, the memes, the headlines, and the trending clips were the win. But whether that defiance was enough to balance out the public damage, that's still up for debate. Soon after, reports claimed that Jim Jones had wired over $200,000 to the landlord to settle the debt and keep full control of his space, a move that proved he wasn't giving up on his vision. Yet true to form, he kept posting like nothing had changed, reminding everyone that even if the bills were paid, the humiliation couldn't be undone. Then, just when it seemed like the tension might finally cool off, another twist hit. Cameron, Jim's former Dipset ally, jumped into the mix, mocking Jim's rumored money problems and even joking about sending him a Zelle transfer to help with the heat. That jab reopened old wounds, and Jim fired right back, calling Cam soft and freaky, reigniting a feud that had been silent for years. Suddenly, the circle widened. Old friends became commentators, new shots started flying, and social media turned into a digital boxing ring. By February 21st, 2026, there was still no lawsuits, no press conferences, just an endless storm of subs, memes, and trolling. And both sides seemed perfectly happy keeping it that way, feeding off each other's energy, each one trying to outlast the other in hip-hop's loudest online showdown. Because at the end of the day, this wasn't just about eviction or beef, it was about evolution, ego, and entertainment. And you already know, when 50 Cent's involved, the story never really ends. It just gets streamed next season. If you loved this breakdown and want to keep up with the next chapter in hip-hop's wildest power plays, make sure to subscribe. Stay locked in for more drama, strategy, and behind-the-scenes storytelling, because the saga's only getting started.